Hello, and welcome back to Confessing Lies or Telling Stories. I'm your host, DJ, and we're back again to continue the story. It's a story about my life. Why do we call this Confessing Lies or Telling Stories? Well, because I need to be able to tell what I need to tell, say what I need to say in a safe, discreet, and most importantly, legal way. I'm not trying to have any problems. So, that's the disclaimer. If you're just joining us, we've been telling a story. I started out around the age of 18, and right now I'm sitting about 19. I'm already a dancer. I'm in Texas. I have my side hustle going on, and I've gotten into multiple altercations. The last run in that I told, and I will link these stories, the specific ones that apply to whatever I'm telling today, but I'll also have the playlist from beginning to end. So if you want to go to the beginning, that way you can go ahead and play catch up. There are also going to be side stories for details and things like that to let you know what's happened throughout these years because it was crazy. If there was any kind of trouble, I was able to find it. So I'm a dancer. I got my side hustle going on. And I bumped heads with one of the head honchos of the city, one of the big boys, one of the heavy hitters. And it didn't go well for him. I didn't have the natural fear of him that I was supposed to have. And the reason I didn't have that fear is because I wasn't raised there. So, and what you see me doing is getting the mask right. Like I said, I'm still getting used to this. So, after me and him bumped heads, after we got into it, because of who he was, there was, let's call it, there was a demand that was left unsupplied. Nobody really knew this because nobody was around to know that that demand was no longer going to be met by this particular person. But I knew. So, in my angry, ambitious state, I decided I'm going to go ahead and try to fill as much of that demand that I created as I possibly could before the word got out that that demand was there. So I scraped up literally every single cent I had, and I went and I made a purchase. Now, in making this purchase, that's establishing a different kind of business. That's upgrading to needing help. You can't be a one-man operation with what I'm attempting to do. I didn't know that. So I'm by myself. I'm everything from beginning to hooking it up to distribution. It's all me. So there's no sleep, there's no free time, dancing, hustling. But I pulled it off. I did. I got the business up and running, and I put the word out on the street. You know, those in need of book supply, I might be able to help you out. Not everybody, but enough people to let it be known that I'm here. So I hit the streets and I start going into territories and stepping on toes and things like that. I have no knowledge of where I'm at or who's in charge except for the one dude that I already took care of. He's no longer a problem. And it's his customers that I'm after. So I get out there and I make a name. Again, I'm in Texas. I'm popular. I'm a dancer. I'm a DJ. And as far as hustling goes, people know who has it. And mine was different than everybody else because I'm not from there. So I'm making a name, even more of a name. Throughout this time with dancing, I'm getting bigger, I'm getting stronger, I'm getting more and more cocky, but I am not getting more and more intelligent, just more and more cocky, along with more and more money. So you can imagine the storm that's brewing here. All right. Between the ego, the narcissism, the mental condition, this is not good. So here I go. I know enough to know what I'm supposed to charge. I know enough to know who the power players are. And I know enough to know that I need to go ahead and protect myself. So I took care of all of that before I even hit the street. And here I go. First few sales, everything's good. Um, I used some of my fellow dancers, since they muscle bound dudes, to come with me. So I looked the part. It looked like I got a nice squad. Everything's going good. What I did not expect, or should I say, what I was not ready for, was that overnight success. The way the money comes in when you're supplying versus providing. Uh, I already had a very bad addiction to money, to the point I'm already 19 taking my clothes off just to get it. So clearly, when it comes to money, I'm ready to go get it. The money started coming in, and it was ridiculous. One of my first purchases was a money counting machine. Again, I can't stress enough how much TV I watched. I watched way too much TV, movies, and I was fearless. So in my mind, when I bought the money machine, that's the equivalent of buying a Rolls Royce. That's the equivalent of buying that phantom, that mansion, because only the ballers have a money counting machine. I'm mainly counting ones here because keep in mind, I'm a dancer. So I got the money counting machine, business hits, and when the money comes rolling in, I'm not ready. I remember sitting there counting my first 5 digits in like an hour or two. I've never made that kind of money in an hour or two, not even dancing. 5 digits. And it was going through the machine. And I looked at the total, and I'll never forget that feeling that comes over me. And I don't know what it's like, but when you see on the movies, when they finally get their hands on the product that they need and they hit it and they do this part here, man, you talking about a high. So now I'm New Jack City, I'm Boys in the Hood, I'm Mr. Society, I'm everything I've ever seen, all wrapped up in one. All right. I took that money and did exactly what you're not supposed to do. Now I got to go look the part. So, and I don't, it was 17.5. Okay. I had 17.5 on me. And it was 17.5 free and clear because I already bought that. I already had the money to go for the comeback. This was the profit that I was supposed to put away for a rainy day. Nah. Now we go look the part. So where do I go? To get suits. That's where I went. I went to go get suits. I had to go get a tailor-made suit because I never had that experience before. I only saw it on TV. Yes, it was loud. Yes, it was tacky. Yes, it was unnecessary. But I went and bought 3 suits. It cost like maybe 1,500 per suit or something. It was ridiculous because of the material and everything. It was crazy. But it's 1,500 for suit, shoes, all of that, but each. Okay, so almost 5 grand. So now I got the suits. Of course, that's not enough to go buy a car. All right. Not enough to go buy a car, but it is enough to find somebody of legal age to go rent me the kind of car I want, at least to drive for, say, a week or two. So that's what I did. Here comes another 3, 4 grand, long term lease. It's a month. And I leased an expedition. I don't know why I thought that was baller, but it was to me back then. Expedition was big. It was cool. So that's what I went and got. And I went and beefed up my dancing outfit. Had to get even more Tims, even more Dickies, that whole thing. Got a few more tattoos and a couple more piercings and that whole nine. Got some jewelry to go along with it. So here we go. I've stepped into this world, and that was just the first time I did that. Because I knew what to do, that money started coming. It started coming so quick. Not only was that money coming, but I was starting to get way better and way more comfortable when it came to dancing. So I'm killing this. I got at least 5 days a week that I was dancing because I'm a hustler. I'm a grinder. When I put my mind to something, I'm not lazy. I get after it. So I'm dancing about 5 days a week. And of course, I'm hustling 24/7. So when the money starts to come in, I realize that, okay, I cannot do this by myself anymore. And I can't use the dancers because they're unreliable. So now we got to go out and we got to hire a real squad, a real team. I don't know anybody. And you have to be careful because we're talking about people being around my money. So, number one, keep in mind, I'm still 19. I haven't hit 20 yet, but I'm about to. At 19, yeah, I'm fearless, but I'm still young. So, in my mind, I can't hire anybody that I'm intimidated by. Okay? Not bigger than me. I don't care about that. But some of these dudes were just seasoned. They were just tough, way tougher than I was. And one thing I learned from the old heads is you don't have to be the biggest or the baddest in the room. You just need to be the craziest. And usually, I didn't have much problem being that until I started trying to hire for my team. And that's when I met some real serious ones out there, people who've done serious bids out there. And all I could picture was every movie I saw where I get taken down by my own people because I wasn't tough enough. But I didn't want to look weak. So I went ahead and I hired him anyway. I was terrified of everybody I hired. Every dude I hired, I hoped never tried me because I was scared of them. And if I was scared of them, I figured everybody else would be scared of them. Keep in mind, I'm the youngest by far. I'm still a teenager. And everybody that's supposed to work for me is older, bigger, scarier, tougher, and might be smarter when it comes to the game. So I'm in shark's waters here. But because of my mental condition, that's how I operate. I love to play the game on expert. I figure if I go ahead and I do this, it's going to force me to get tougher overnight or be in danger. I have a very, very tough survival instinct. When it comes down to survival, I will not hesitate to do what needs to be done. So I figured if I put myself in that position, that's how I would toughen up quickly. So I started out 4 people plus me. That's 5. The reason I did that is because in my stupid little head, it looked good to have me with, 2 on each side, like a little pyramid kind of, a little triangle. I don't know. It looked good. It had to be the same amount on each side, so I hired 4. I was also taught by the old heads that you pay your people. You pay them well, or else they will cross you. As long as you can keep their greed and their jealousy at bay by putting their survival and their livelihood as a priority because you pay them well, it's less likely that they will cross you the wrong way. Even if they want to, it's less likely that they will. So it's best to hire people who may be more dangerous and tougher than you, but don't ever hire people who are smarter than you because that's how they get you. Even at 19, I was smarter than every last one of those dudes. They didn't know it, but I did. Another old head lesson is it takes a brilliant man to play dumb and be convincing. So, this is how I worked it. Everybody knew that whether good, bad, or ugly, I'm going down for mine. They knew that. They would have to take me out in order to take what's mine. And that was a rule that I set forth from the beginning. I let them know that I will be paying very well and that this is just the beginning. We're going straight to the top. So here we go. Luckily for me, that by hiring people considerably older than me, it triggered a little brother thing. They didn't want to take me over. They wanted to protect me because I was younger than them. They wanted to see me make it. So I had zero problems. They protected me with their life. We started doing so good so fast that I left dancing for about 2 months because I needed that time to stockpile. I needed that time to get my business in order because it was growing faster than the time I had available to tend to it. And I didn't trust nobody else with the fundamentals or the brains of the operation, so I don't delegate. Goons are for gooning. That's it. You don't use goons for thinking. Goons are for gooning. That's my job to think. I'm the head on the body. Don't you ever teach your arms and legs how to be a head. Okay? So I had to do it all on my own. And there's not enough hours in the day. So I stopped dancing for about 1 or 2 months to get my affairs in order. By the time I finished, I had everything down to the point of time, place, routine. Everybody knew how I operated. And within about, say, 3 months, I got a chance to turn down my first customer because I simply just didn't have any more room for anybody else. I couldn't service anybody else. And the demand that I left there because of my running with old boy, he was the man. So he covered all of that. So we're talking about me plus about another 4 or 5 dudes came up just trying to fill this one guy's demand because he had it like that. And there was never any overlapping because we still couldn't cover everything this dude used to take care of. So everybody's just growing. Everybody's growing. Everybody's doing well until I happened to run up on a different plug. It was something different that wasn't around there. And it was by chance, by luck. I did a lot of traveling because I like to sit there and find different things, not just product, but just different cultures as far as different ways of doing things, different hustles. And yes, right here in America, but Louisiana doesn't move like Texas. Texas doesn't move like Florida. Florida doesn't move like New York. New York doesn't move like California, so on and so forth. You need to know how to operate differently than the people around you. So I would travel. I would just hit my car and just be gone and just go get to know different things, find different things, bring it back. Well, I ran up on a product and I would use dancing to do this. So when I traveled, I would go to different clubs and dance or go do a mirror view. So it was always disguised as work. Nobody knew I was out here just scouting, looking for different ways to hustle better. It just looks like I'm a traveling dancer. And I was. So besides getting extra money from traveling, I'm learning new hustle ways. I'm finding new product. I'm meeting new people. In doing so, I brought a product to Texas that wasn't there. And it's not that it was so much better, it was just so different. It looked different, it hit different, and nobody else had it. And because of the price I was getting, I was able to sell it for less than what was than everything else within the same category was being sold for. Even my own product, I could sell it less than what I was already selling my stuff for. And it hit the same, if not better. So of course, this takes off. It takes off so well that within 3 weeks, mind you, I've been feeling this new demand for about 3, maybe 4 months now. In 3 weeks of connecting with this new product, I literally get a knock at my door. Doom, 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 doom. Well, nobody's supposed to know where I live. Nobody. I don't even let women know where I live. So immediately I grab what I need to grab, go to the door. I'm looking. No threat. I see two guys in suits. First thing I'm thinking is police. That's the first thing I'm going to think because they were just in regular suits. And of course, it's the who is it? They asked for me by name, by government name, and nobody's supposed to know that. I don't use that ever. So that already was alarm number two. The suits, you know where I live, and then this, you know, my government. So now I got to straighten up. They just told me basically they needed me to open the door. And when I told them I wasn't going to, they made it very clear that I was going to, even if I didn't want to. And it would be in my best interest to do so voluntarily. No threats, but they got that point across. So, of course, I opened the door. I got my protection. Let's just see what this is about. It's broad daylight, so I'm not really too worried. There's people all around. All right. So I open the door and they walk right in. Didn't even invite them. And I was about to get mad. But when they say there's an instinct that we all have that lets us know when we are in danger, they're not joking. I don't know why I did not react. They weren't super big, they weren't aggressive in any way. But when I tell you, I did nothing. I opened the door, they were right past me. I did nothing. I said nothing. I didn't get slick out the mouth. Somehow I knew not to. I closed the door and they sat down like it was they sat down and they just looked at me. And they asked me if I knew who they were. I said, no, I do not. But you're in my house and I didn't invite you in. So either you're going to tell me who you are or we got to have this problem that people would usually have when strangers walk into your home uninvited. And they laughed. Both of them laughed heartily. Not, it was very disrespectful, very. But again, the thing in my head is like, they don't seem worried, which made me worry in my own house. So I chilled because, again, the story that I'm going to link, I've already found out what happens when you don't think twice or at least make sure before you make a move. And that didn't end well for me. So this time, let me just hold up for a second because anybody who's willing to be this bold in broad daylight, walking into somebody's home, not knowing anything about it, must know something I don't know. And mind you, they know my government name. The whole thing. Not good. So they explained to me why they're there. Earlier, when I told you I made a name for myself, it turns out that that name was just a little bit too loud. And it got the attention of people that I really didn't want to get the attention of, especially in the Texas area. So they explained to me, and I could tell by their nationality once they spoke and I heard, you know, the accent, I knew exactly who they were. And they laid it out. They made me an offer that I dare not refuse. And that offer was, you're going to do it this way or not at all. Very simple. And when I said, well, I think I'd rather do it not at all, it was like, yeah, well, no. They expected me to care more about the money than anything else, but there's certain people you just don't get into bed with. So they let it be known that what I have, they now have. What I know, they now know. And what I do is no longer under my control. I asked them straight up, what does this mean or whatever? And their answer was, it means that you're safe. You no longer have to worry about anything or anyone but us. I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all. I didn't get into this to work for people. But I knew better. And I still wanted to grow. So, though I knew what this was, I knew that these are people that anybody who planned on doing this for real all the way to the end would want to know. I wasn't doing that. I just needed some money. And this was a good way to get it. I had plenty of plans to leave, stop, move on. This wasn't me. And I've heard the horror stories about how when you get in, locked in with certain people, they don't want to let you go. So I told them about my whole master plan. I let them know that I wasn't planning on staying forever. I'm just migrating, you know? And they let me know that nothing's forever, but it will be until they say. So that's what it is. All they wanted me to do was keep that new stuff that I had coming through and stay out of certain places. And of course, you got to pay your dues. I didn't know. I just stepped into people's town and started doing my thing, and I'm ambitious. So when I grow, I grow. Once they sat there and did that, there was a knot because I already knew. You hear the horror stories. People, they go missing. Okay, they go missing. I don't like stuff like that. But I have to say, I have to say what you will about them. When I say it's organization, exponential growth, and zero confrontations, that's exactly what it is. Once people know you're connected to these suits, they leave you alone. I became more known in the next 2 months after that visit than I had in the over year and a half I had been there doing it on my own. And we're talking about all the way up into business owners, club managers, the scene. The scene knew who I was. And then I started thinking, I never found this out, but I was wondering if maybe the dude I had to run in with was the person they used to have to deal with. And because I created that gap, I now had to fill that gap. Don't know. dare not ask. So this went on for the rest of that year, and it kept growing. It kept growing, and there were multiple run-ins, multiple problems, and things that I had to go through. But we'll get into those stories individually. I don't want to rush anything, so that's enough for now. But always remember, man, ambition is a good thing, but that flying too close to the sun thing, you got to be careful because once you get up there, it's hot. It's hot up there. I had my suits, I had my car, I had my money, I had my respect, but it was hot because it's not fun when people know how to get to you, know things about you. It's like just having eyes on you at all times and you don't know how they're doing it. I don't know how these people found out literally everything about me. And anytime I was anywhere and they needed me, they would just show up. That's to this day, it still bothers me. Even with everything we have today, I would still be impressed if someone could find me the way they could. Anyway, I appreciate you listening. Hope you click subscribe and all of that. I'm still learning how to do this whole thing. I don't write scripts because I'm not writing a story. I'm telling a story that I lived. So I'm going back in my head and remembering and telling you. Those are the gaps, those are the pauses, those are everything. And that is the organic way that I tell your story. So I will not do anything other than what I'm doing. I'll work on the audio. I'll try to work on less ums and pauses but overall, I'm not writing. I'm remembering. And I hope you understand that. Hope it was entertaining. Of course, we'll continue the story. If you haven't caught up yet, go to the channel, start from the beginning. I'm actually going to create a playlist to make sure everything's in order for you and hit the beginning of the story so you can ride with me. All right? We're telling these stories not just for fun, but to give some kind of insight to the bad decisions that can be made when you have certain mental conditions and you don't work on being your own self-handler, when you don't work on yourself. Okay? Until next time, thank you for joining me. I am the DJ. Have a great day, week, weekend. We'll see you later.